Alex Eala played her Berlin semi-final against Noskova on June 20th and 21st, and the Bad Homburg match is scheduled for around June 22nd. So, she's coming off that semi-final loss just a day or two before. This is a critical turnaround detail. 36 hours. That is approximately how much time separates Alex Eala walking off the grass at Berlin's Steffi Graf Stadium after a semi-final loss to Linda Noskova and stepping onto a different patch of German grass at TC Bad Homburg to face Elise Mertens in the first round of a WTA 500. And somewhere inside that narrow gap between one tournament ending and another beginning lives the question that will define this particular week of her 2026 season. What do you do with momentum that got interrupted just before it peaked? Because that Berlin run was not ordinary, it was the kind of week that redraws how the rest of the tour thinks about you. Donna Vekic, the freshly crowned Queen's Club champion, fell in straight sets in the opening round, 7-5, 6-4. Then world number 2 Elena Rybakina, a two-time Grand Slam champion whose first serve can end rallies before they begin, went down 7-5, 6-4 in a match where Eala won 19-second serve return points, more than doubling Rybakina's total. The quarterfinal brought world number 8 Elina Svitolina and the scoreline read 6-3, 6-4 in a match that lasted 83 minutes and never once felt in doubt after the first 3 games. 3 rounds, 2 top 10 scalps, 0 sets dropped. The 21-year-old from the Philippines was playing the best grass court tennis of her life, and when Noskova ended it with a 6-2, 6-4 semi-final that lasted just over an hour, the abruptness of the conclusion almost didn't register. Eala won only 40 of 103 total points. Noskova served 9 aces and broke her 4 times across 18 service games. It was thorough. It was clinical. And it happened right when the narrative seemed ready to deliver something bigger. So now IGA arrives in Bad Homburg carrying 2 contradictory truths in her body. The first is the memory of what her game felt like when everything clicked, the timing on the return, the aggressive positioning inside the baseline, the willingness to take the ball early off the bounce and redirect pace into angles that the grass made lethal. The second is what happened when Noskova took all of that away by serving through her and dictating from the first ball of every rally. Both of those experiences are real. Both of them happened in the past 4 days. And the physical toll of playing 4 matches in 5 days at a WTA 500, including 3 against top 30 opponents, is something that no amount of adrenaline fully disguises. This is where we need to talk about what makes this opening round draw against Elise Mertens so tactically interesting, and why dismissing Mertens as a routine obstacle would be a serious misread of the situation. Start with the Belgian's 2026 grass court body of work. 2 weeks ago, Mertens was defending her S-Hertogenbosch title, the tournament where she had won her 10th career singles title in 2025, the first of those 10 to come on grass. After saving an astonishing 11 match points over the course of the tournament, this year's defense ended early. She beat Bianca Andreescu 6-1, 6-3 in the first round, looking sharp, looking organized, and then ran into Elena Gabriela Ruse in the round of 16 and lost 6-3, 6-3 in a rematch of last year's final. The loss stung because Mertens had beaten Ruse to win the title 12 months earlier, and because Ruse's flat ground strokes and refusal to give her rhythm made her look passive in a way that Mertens, at her best, never is. Then came Berlin. Mertens opened against Ludmila Samsonova and dropped the first set 1-6 in a manner that suggested the week might be very short. But then something shifted. Mertens took the second set 6-3, took the third 6-0, and produced one of the more dramatic turnarounds of the week. In the round of 16, though, Nikola Bartunkova 6-1, 6-4, and the Berlin chapter closed, so Mertens brings a 3-2 record on grass in 2026 into Bad Homburg. Not terrible. Not dominant. Somewhere in between, which is actually the zone where Mertens has operated for much of her career in singles. A player whose ranking, currently number 24 in the world, reflects years of steady accumulation rather than peaks of extraordinary brilliance. But here is what makes Mertens dangerous in this specific matchup. She has played Ella before and she won, and the margin of that victory was not close. In October 2023, at the Jasmine Open in Monastir, Tunisia, on hard court, the second-seeded Mertens dismantled a much younger, much less experienced Ella 7-5, 6-0. That second set is worth sitting with. 6-love. A bagel. In the opening set, Ella competed, pushed the scoreline to 5-7, showed she belonged on the same court. And then Mertens erased her. Not with power. Not with one overwhelming weapon. She erased her with depth, with placement, with the relentless intelligence of someone who has played nearly 800 career matches on the WTA Tour and knows how to take time away from an opponent without ever looking like she's hitting hard. That was a different Ella. It was a player ranked outside the top 100, still learning how to manage the psychological weight of a match that tightens in the middle. The Ella who showed up in Berlin this past week is a measurably different competitor. She has 5 career wins over top 10 opponents. She won the Birmingham Open title 2 weeks ago, coming back from a set down against Bartunkova in the final to win 5-7, 6-3, 7-5. Her career record on grass now stands at 15 wins and 8 losses, a 65.2% win rate that places her among the more productive grass court players in her ranking tier. And her career high ranking of world number 29, achieved in March after a 4th-round run at Indian Wells, tells only part of the story. What the ranking does not capture is the velocity of improvement, the distance between the player who lost 7-5, 6-0 to Mertens in a small tournament in Tunisia, and the player who beat Rybakina and Svitolina in consecutive days on grass in Berlin. For viewers wanting to follow this match, the Bad Homburg Open is broadcast through Tennis Channel in the Americas. International viewers can check the Zone and Amazon Prime Video for coverage depending on their region, and the WTA website lists all regional broadcasting options for the tournament. The match is scheduled for Sunday, June 22nd as part of the first-round main draw action at TC Bad Homburg. Now, the tactical picture. Mertens at 30 years old is a player whose identity is firmly established. She hits flat ground strokes, particularly off the backhand wing, with enough depth and precision to pin opponents behind the baseline. Her career statistics tell the story of someone who constructs points methodically. She is one of the better return of serve players on the WTA Tour, someone who can neutralize big first serves and make you play through her on second serves. Her net game, sharpened by an extraordinary doubles career, she is a 6-time Grand Slam doubles champion and currently ranked number 4 in the world in doubles, gives her a dimension that many pure baseliners lack. She finishes points at the net with a comfort that comes from literally thousands of doubles matches where closing was the only option. On grass, that net game matters more than it does on any other surface. Grass rewards the player who is willing to come forward, who can volley cleanly under pressure, who understands that shortening points is not desperation but strategy. Mertens has stated publicly that grass is her favorite surface, which might surprise people given that only one of her 10 career singles titles came on it. But there is a logic to the claim. Her flat ball flight, which can get bogged down on clay where topspin creates higher bounces and longer rallies, stays low and skids through on grass. Her backhand, which is her stronger wing, becomes a more potent weapon when the bounce stays below the waist and opponents have less time to set up. IGA's grass court game, however, has evolved to a point where those same physics work in her favor. Her return of serve, which was already one of the better aspects of her game on hard court, has become a genuine weapon on grass because the faster surface rewards players who can read the serve early and commit to a return position without hesitating. In Berlin, IGA's return numbers against Rybakina were extraordinary. She won 58.3% of second serve return points against one of the biggest servers in the women's game. Against Svitolina, a player known for making opponents work through grueling baseline exchanges, IGA's willingness to take the ball early and flatten out her ground strokes meant that rallies never settled into the grinding rhythm that Svitolina prefers. This creates a fascinating collision. Both Ella and Mertens want to take time away from their opponent. Both hit relatively flat. Both return well. Both are comfortable enough at the net to finish points there. In many ways, this is a mirror match, two players whose styles overlap significantly, separated primarily by experience, physical freshness, and confidence. The experience gap is real and quantifiable. Mertens has played 788 career matches in WTA singles. She has reached a Grand Slam semi-final. She has beaten former world number ones. She has won titles on 3 surfaces. She has represented Belgium in the Billie Jean King Cup, where her 13-7 record reflects a player who can handle the particular pressure of carrying national expectation. Eala's career match count is a fraction of that. The 21-year-old is in her third full season on the WTA Tour. And while the Berlin results demonstrated that she can compete with the best in the world on grass, competing for 1 week and doing it consistently over months and years are different propositions. But the freshness gap is also real and potentially decisive. Mertens has not had a particularly taxing build-up to Bad Homburg. Her early exit in Berlin means she has had several days of rest and preparation. Eala, by contrast, has played 4 matches in 5 days, including back-to-back encounters against top 10 players. The physical demands of a semi-final run at a WTA 500 are not trivial, even for a 21-year-old. Fatigue on grass manifests in specific ways. The first step to the wide ball becomes a half-step slower. The split-step timing on the return drifts by a few milliseconds. The legs do not quite load the way on the serve. These are small things, but grass amplifies small things because the margin for error is already so thin. There is another dimension to this week in Bad Homburg that enriches the story. IGA is not just here for singles. She has been granted a wild card for the doubles draw alongside Venus Williams. Let that combination sit for a moment. 21-year-old from Manila partnering a 46-year-old 5-time Wimbledon champion. The generational bridge is staggering. Williams, who won her first Wimbledon title in 2005 years before IGA was born, is playing doubles events as part of a farewell tour that has brought her back to the grass courts she once dominated. For IGA, the opportunity to share a court with Williams is not just a scheduling curiosity. It is the kind of experience that shapes how a young player thinks about what is possible in a career, about longevity, about the way champions inhabit space on a tennis court. But the doubles commitment also means physical and mental bandwidth being split across 2 draws at a tournament that sits 1 week before Wimbledon. Every doubles match played is another 90 minutes on the legs. Every tactical conversation between points in doubles is mental energy that cannot be spent on singles preparation. IGA's team will have to manage this carefully because the priority is clear. Wimbledon starts on June 29th, and everything between now and then is calibration. Now, if we project what actually happens when IGA and Mertens walk onto the court on Sunday, the match will likely be decided in the return games. Both women will hold serve a reasonable percentage of the time. Grass helps the server, and both IGA and Mertens have improved their serving enough in 2026 to stay competitive on their delivery games. The question is what happens on the 2 or 3 breakpoint opportunities that each player is likely to generate. Mertens is a player who tends to play her best tennis in the biggest moments. Her career is littered with tight wins where she found a way to execute under pressure. The 11 match points saved in Hertogenbosch last year being the most dramatic example. IGA, by contrast, is a player who generates pressure through relentless return depth, but who can occasionally tighten when the scoreboard demands that she close things out. Her 4 unconverted championship points against Maya Joint in the Eastbourne final last year remain a data point that has not been fully erased by everything that has happened since. The first set will tell us almost everything we need to know. If IGA comes out sharp, returning with the same depth and conviction she showed against Rybakina, and if her legs have recovered enough from Berlin to move laterally with the urgency that grass demands, she has the game to control this match from the baseline. Mertens will not overpower her. Mertens does not overpower anyone. She outmaneuvers. She outpatiences. She waits for the mistake and makes you pay for it with a backhand down the line that skids away before you can react. That is the game plan that worked in Monaster. The question is whether IGA has learned enough, improved enough, and built enough grass court confidence in the past 2 weeks to deny Mertens the rhythm she needs to execute it again. What I am watching for, specifically, is IGA's first serve percentage in the opening 4 games. In Berlin, her serve was not the weapon that carried her. It was her return that made the difference. But against Mertens, whose return game is genuinely elite, IGA cannot afford the kind of opening set serving wobble that she showed against Bartunkova in the Birmingham final, where she dropped the first set before finding her range on grass, falling behind against a player as experienced as Mertens, a compounding problem. The Belgian relaxes into her game plan. Her ground strokes get deeper, her tactical variety, the sliced backhand that stays low, the occasional drop shot. The well-timed approach becomes harder to read as she gains confidence. The other factor to monitor is how IGA handles the pace transition from Berlin to Bad Homburg. Both venues are grass, but court conditions vary from tournament to tournament. The bounce height, the speed of the surface, the ambient conditions, these are not identical. Players talk about needing a few games to calibrate their timing at a new venue, and for IGA, arriving with less than 48 hours between her last Berlin match and her first Bad Homburg match, that calibration window is compressed. For anyone following this match, I genuinely believe it will be tighter than the ranking difference suggests. Mertens at number 24 in the world is not dramatically above IGA at number 35. These are two players in the same competitive tier with different strengths, different career stages, and different things at stake this week. Mertens needs the result to rebuild the confidence that an early exit in Berlin may have dented. IGA needs the result to prove that Berlin was not a one-week anomaly, but the beginning of a sustained grass court identity. Both players need the match practice heading into Wimbledon. Neither can afford to treat this as a routine first round. The 2023 Monastir match is a ghost in this draw. IGA knows what happened when Mertens took control of their only previous meeting. She knows what the 6-0 second set felt like. And she knows, with the kind of certainty that only comes from recent lived experience, that she is no longer that player. The Birmingham title, the Rybakina upset, the Svitolina demolition, these are not abstract credentials, they're evidence that the 21-year-old's game has crossed a threshold. The challenge on Sunday is to make that evidence matter against an opponent who will not be intimidated by it, who has seen younger players search before, and knows exactly how to make the moment feel bigger than it needs to feel. This is grass court tennis at its most compelling. Two smart, flat-hitting, tactically aware players in a first round that should be a quarterfinal at a WTA 500 that sits in the shadow of Wimbledon and carries weight far beyond its spot on the calendar. Tune in on Tennis Channel, DAZN, or Prime Video, depending on your region, and watch two women who both understand that what happens in Bad Homburg this week will shape everything that comes after.